arrogance of the Americans, the bulliness of the Americans. Let me even throw it on the West side. America right now comes to Tanzania, comes to Ghana, comes to Zambia with 16 million. And guess what? 16 million only for Zambia. The 16 million, ask me, what is it for?
What is it for?
For human rights. Across the river, China and Russia coming to South Africa, ask me for what?
For what?
For a military training and skills sharing of security. So the Americans are more interested in a transgender, homosexual agenda around the world. They will invest their money and give you money to protect human rights. Russia and China are coming with weapons and militarization strategies so that we can protect ourselves.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're about to take a look at Bishop Joshua Maponga, this man right here on the screen, and he's going to be talking to us about Kamala Harris's visit to Africa. Apparently, she visited Zambia with a $60 million proposal to push human rights, which we all know is just a cloak for LGBTQ rights and pushing the LGBTQ agenda in Africa, a place where that does not fly the way it flies here in America. And meanwhile, you got countries like China and Russia going to Africa to propose skills trading, trying to help them boost and, bolster, strengthen their military, things that actually matter, things that will actually help them. But I'm not about to speak for this man. I'm gonna let him speak for himself. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe while we watching. Now let's roll this.
Arrogance of the Americans, the bulliness of the Americans. Let me even throw it on the West side. America right now comes to Tanzania, comes to Ghana, comes to Zambia with 16 million. And guess what? 16 million only for Zambia. The 16 million, ask me, what is it for?
What is it for?
For human rights. Across the river, China and Russia coming to South Africa, ask me for what?
For what?
For a military training and skills sharing of security. So the Americans are more interested in a transgender, homosexual agenda around the world. They will invest their money and give you money to protect human rights. Russia and China are coming with weapons and militarization strategies so that we can protect ourselves.
Now, let me just pause right there, and just say how important that is. Now, whether you agree or, like or side with China or Russia, what they're going to Africa and what they're going to these African countries and trying to provide them is something that they can actually use, something that will actually be good for them and will actually benefit their society. Everybody knows a country that can defend itself is a strong country. Every country needs to be able to defend itself from any impending attacks, wars, more powerful countries. You have to be able to defend yourself. And China and Russia understand the importance of that, and they're not meeting up. They're not going down to Africa and, spitting in their faces with, LGBTQ rights. America being the #1 global superpower for as long as it has, countries from all around the world, every country, matter of fact, looks at us and observes how we move. So Kamala Harris and this administration really has some nerve for trying to go to Africa and get them to sign off and essentially bribing them with money to sign off on something that goes against their values and their morals and that is tearing at the fabric of American society. They want to push that and promote that in Africa. Why? How will that help any country in Africa become a stronger and more productive nation?
So I want to say this very loud and clear to the Americans. Continue on your transgender agenda. Stay there. Leave us to do politics on the other side. Because what we need right now is not a minority human rights activation. What we need is a societal transformation. And for you as Americans to think that we really envy that when you have an anti-lesbian, anti-gay, LGBT principle, then tourists would drop. Let me correct that once and for all, Sbu. And cut and clip this, and it must be loud and clear. Are you saying to me that all the tourists are gay? And when you hear that this is a non-gay zone, tourism will suffer. Question number one. Question number two. Are you saying that we don't have a right to expressing ourselves as Africans? Question number three. If democracy means majority rules and majority votes against a principle, then why won't you allow that to become law?
Right on the money. He couldn't have said that any better. For as much as this administration, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, the whole administration, the left, for as much as they talk about democracy, how hypocritical of it is for Kamala Harris to go down to Africa and, like I said, essentially bribe them with money, bribe Zambia with money to accept something that they majority rule as not okay. To be honest, the current administration doesn't have many legs to stand on. Kamala Harris has not been taking many W's in her tenure as VP. She's been taking a lot of L's, and it's just a big virtue signal. They know that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, the Democrats, they know that their base is very much pro-LGBTQ rights. So whether this goes over, whether it doesn't matter. They just want a virtue signal. They want to appear to be doing something on the global scale for human rights, which is the LGBTQ agenda. Because honestly, as sad as it is, Kamala Harris, and this is just how it is with many politicians, they don't actually have to produce anything, the same way a business has to produce. All they have to do is propose something, speak highly of something that their base likes, and and make a big theatrical appearance to show that they are in advocacy for that certain thing. In this case, LGBTQ rights. And that's going to win them lots of points with their base. And they chose African nations to target this to. Meanwhile, you got nations like China and Russia talking about infrastructure, talking about the military, weapons, training, things that really matter. Again, this is just another L to me. This is another L. We had a chance to go over there and propose something that could be of equal value to what Russia and China is proposing to them. But no, we went over there and talked about LGBTQ rights. Ridiculous.
Are you saying the minority must manage the majority, or the majority must manage the minority? Then if that whole ideology is wrong, then take democracy in a nice black dustbin bag and throw it outside. Because what you are telling us is by the people, for the people, with the people, and all those slogans you hear, what democracy represents. If we are 10 in the room and 9 people say no, and one person says it, yes, democracy says you go with the majority. So if we say we want to make Africa democratic, and the demographics of our democracy says no, then why do you philosophically want to manipulate the will of the majority to favor the will of the minority?
Bro, and I'm sorry I'm stopping so much, but this is how people like me feel in this country. This is how we feel in America. Exactly what he just said. There are plenty of people here in America who disagree with the fact that a minority of people and the way that they live their life and the views that they have are being pushed onto a majority of people who choose not to live their lives that way. And it's not about hatred. It's not about bigotry. Those just aren't the values that conservative people happen to share, being all into the LGBTQ rights thing. But unfortunately, here we don't really have a choice. It's being force-fed down everyone's throat. It's being, put on TV screens everywhere. We really can't avoid this stuff. So what I will say is, at least the people in Africa have a majority where they are still willing to stand up for those values, where here it just seems like conservative values are honestly being steamrolled and disregarded as, second-class values.
The will of the minority. This is where it really gets confusing to me. Because you're selling me one thing on one. I understand this democracy because it is based on the principle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it comes to practice, no, you can't practice it like that. Then what do you want? Do you want democracy? You want anarchy? You want indigenous governance systems? You want meritocracy? Maybe let's find another way of governing ourselves. But the ideology of democracy being founded on majority rule does not count. Because the rule that runs the South African constitution right now is not majority count. I will go on record for being on your show and saying it loud and clear without mixing words. Put 100 people on an island and lock them away from everybody. Put 100 people on an island who are heterosexual. Those are homosexual. Come back after 50 or 20 or 30 years. On that island, you'll find graves with no living being there.
If y'all didn't hear what he said on the homosexual island, you'll find graves with no living people being there.
On this island, you'll find 10,000 people growing and exploring and moving. So having said that, we as a society, particularly as African society, we also as traditional people have a right to our self-preservation and continuity as a people. Alternative lifestyles must be practiced where they must be practiced, but the main agenda of societal drive must be left to the right, because even those that are on the left come from the right. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yo, he cooking. He cooking right now. He cooking. I gotta play that back one more time. I gotta play that back one more time.
People. Alternative lifestyles must be practiced where they must be practiced, but the main agenda of societal drive must be left to the right, because even those that are on the left come from the right.
He said alternative lifestyles will be practiced where they will be practiced, but the main agenda of society must be left to the right. The main agenda, because even people who come from the left come from the right. You wouldn't have an opportunity to have all of these, crazy theories and things that you had two traditional people, or had two people not come together and traditionally mated, had kids, and, raised you in some way, shape, or form. That is the backbone. That is the spine of a society. It really is some profound stuff that he's speaking, and I love it. But you see the rhetoric of this administration, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and a lot of the left. And, like I said, they treat people with conservative values like second-class citizens, like terrorists. Just to get my thoughts on the LGBT community, like he said, alternative lifestyles should be practiced where they will be practiced. Okay, that's cool. But when you go and try to reshape society and push a radical, progressive, leftist agenda onto society as a whole, tearing at the very fabric of it, confusing kids, man, I just can't get behind that. And like he said earlier, too, about self-preservation, Africa is entitled, each country in Africa is entitled to their own self-preservation. And we should be, too, in America, the land of the free, supposedly. There are people here, a lot of people here, a majority of people here who want to preserve our traditional values, and it's nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, in Western societies nowadays, people are demonized for wanting to preserve traditional values. It's crazy. For those in Africa who never visited the States and, see us through the news and see us represented through people like Kamala Harris, just know that is not the way of thinking and the will of every single American. There are very traditional people here. But yeah, guys, just a fun fact about me. I have an African girlfriend who has been a blessing in my life. And once we go through all the proper traditions, that will be my wife. And, she's taught me so much about the culture. And I definitely plan on visiting, within the next couple of years. And I got tremendous respect for African people and their traditions. And, like he mentioned in this video, they should definitely be left to their own self-preservation and to their own, majority rules, democracy, where they decide what is best for them. They don't need Kamala Harris to go over there and offer them money so they could, join the LGBTQ Rainbow Coalition. No, they know what they're doing when it comes to that over there. They know what they're doing, and I think they're doing a pretty good job. But that's it for the video, you guys. Let me know what you thought about this in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on your way out the door. Let me know what you thought about this, and until next time, you guys, I'm out. Peace.